everybody. So I just wanted to give a little disclaimer before this interview. We had a couple interviews with actors that we'd recorded before the strike. And now we have gotten permission from their agents and talking with them to publish the interviews. But this is not a break in strike in any ways. Like I said, they were recorded before the strike. So yeah, there you go. And I did a live stream talking on the Hallmarkies podcast YouTube about our plans now that we are not able to interview the actors anymore. But we did have, like I said, a couple in the can already recorded. So enjoy, and yeah, it'll be an interesting time. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. And we're really excited today. We have another actor interview with us today. We have Jason McKinnon here. And thank you so much, Jason, for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you, Rachel. Appreciate it.
Yeah, what we like to do with new guests is we like to give you a chance to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what inspired you to get into acting.
So I'm Jason McKinnon. I grew up in Vancouver, Canada, in British Columbia specifically. And I just always was a bit of a goof in front of the camera, and we have this old footage of just making silly voices, and I would actually have a little tape recorder that I would record in my room, and I would do voices. So I'd pick a sentence and then I would just do impressions. And then yeah, the school play thing that, everyone's done the school play. We've all been tree number 3.
Yes.
And
did you have any big ones that you with of the shows you did, or were they more smaller?
They were all in high school. I mean, all the ones through high school, right?
Yeah.
And then
any shows we would know?
Any show? Oh, like musicals?
Yeah.
Oh, we did Oklahoma.
Nice.
We did A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum.
Oh.
After high school, I did Grease and Hair at Theater Under the Stars. But
nice.
I wanted to give 2 shout outs to one teacher is Shannon Leggett. So she was our improv coach. So we did improv and we went to the nationals. She was amazing. She was very inspiring. And then Lynn Crimble, who was an acting teacher at our school. And just after class one day, she's like, you could do this. And I was like, what do you mean? Like get an A, like get a good grade? She's like, no, you could do this like after.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just wanted to say like, that's so important. And hopefully there's people out there that have similar experiences with teachers, but they were kind of enough to like instill the confidence.
That's really cool. Yeah. It's so important to have those teachers that spend the extra time with you, because they have so much to do just with the regular classes and stuff. Then they take the extra time to really mentor students. It's amazing.
Yeah, and I keep in touch with them to this day, which is cool. So
yeah. So did you go on to like college or
well, so okay, so we had this little whatever scholarship. I think at the time it was maybe $500, which would be like $10 now due to inflation, but it was a lot, when you're a kid in high school, like $500, holy smokes.
Yeah.
So I did this little video presentation, and it was, if you saw it now, you'd laugh. It was just so cheesy, but I guess I did a good job, and I won this little scholarship, like I said, the $500, and I put it towards this acting class right after, or acting school program, like an 8-month program right after high school.
Cool. Yeah. So you did that in Vancouver?
Yeah, right in Vancouver, in Gastown, which is the famous. Have you been to Vancouver?
No, I want to. After so many interviews, so many Vancouverites, I need to go eventually.
Yeah, if you do, definitely come for the fair weather, like either the beginning of summer or the end of summer. It's unmatched. But there's this steam clock in Gastown, which is where the school was, and everyone comes to watch this clock, and it just chimes. It's just steam, and like we're all just like, you came here from so far away, and it's really cool. I'm not. It's such a trip to see. Anyway, so that's a tangential story there, but basically Gastown was where the school was, and yeah, pretty much everything I've done has been here locally until some of the jobs took me elsewhere. But most of the work's been done here.
Well, I mean, it's the Hollywood of the North, so
yeah,
Vancouver.
No, it's so true. Like I do feel fortunate to have done as many different varied projects as I have,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah, you have a lot on your filmography. You keep busy.
Yeah, it's been good. Like I said, knock wood. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and
Do
that's not
you?
even including all the commercials and stuff like that,
Hmm.
voiceover stuff, which is again just lucky to be able to do all that up here. Because I know
Yeah.
some friends that are down and in LA, and it's like there are larger opportunities down there in the States, but it's also extremely saturated. And sometimes when you see a resume from someone up here, it can be
Hmm.
it's it's got its merits, pros and
Hmm.
cons, both sides of the coin. But um, no, I would say we're pretty lucky up here
Yeah.
in Vancouver, yeah, and Toronto as
Well,
well.
I so admire the hustle of the working actors. It's really, really impressive.
Right?
Yeah.
Like you swing a cat, you would hit a job that any one of us has held. Just name the most random
Yeah.
job, and we've
Yeah.
held it. Yeah.
So do you remember the first role you ever got on camera?
Ooh, I think it was Halloween Resurrection. It was one of those
Oh,
Halloween
okay.
movies. And
Uh-huh.
I told everyone just not too far out of high school, and I was so excited. It's gonna be in the theaters. I was like, this is it. And then sure enough, it gets cut. See,
Oh, that's too
he's cut.
bad.
And so anyone, I had a few messages, they're like, dude, you weren't in it. And I was like, oh no.
You're like, rub it
So
in.
yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it, Mike. It wasn't Mike, but yeah, that was the first one, and I was pretty nervous, but
Uh-huh.
it was cool. It was a cool experience. Yeah.
But did that like help you get an agent and stuff like that? Like
Um,
having
yes and no. The agent, I actually had an agent, my first agent. This is years ago, and I was with him for a year,
mhm,
and I booked this many.
zero, zero. Yeah.
And and poor guy, he sent me out for all these big auditions, and this big casting director at the time, Stuart Akins, he would read with you. He would read with you, which is unusual. Usually it's just the
Uh-huh.
camera and then you, but he'd be in the scene. This older gentleman pretending to be this girl that you're breaking up with in high school or something, and
Yeah.
it was very unsettled.
I guess
It's
that's
just like
acting.
it's unusual. It's just unusual. Like it's for someone just out of school. They don't prepare you. I wasn't prepared.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And my poor agent just kept sending me out. I'm like, listen, I'm really, I'm trying, but so the agents, I don't know. They like to see stuff on your resume, but they're pretty good up here. They
Hmm.
understand you have to start from somewhere. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
So you've done a bunch of these Hallmark movies and movies of the week. And what do you think is the big appeal? What do you think people like about these movies of these
No, it's just like
rom-coms?
I,
Rom-coms.
my analogy is like, okay, so my wife, for example, she's watched Pretty Woman maybe 100 times, or
Mm-hmm.
10 Things I Hate About You, or whatever. She's got these
Mm-hmm.
movies she's watched on repeat because she knows what's going to happen, and she knows the movie, and it's like a comfort food, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I feel like when you know the majority of what's going to happen, there's something nice about that. And it's like it's comforting in a way. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, it's just like it's a throwback to just like classical storytelling where
Mm-hmm.
there's like certain plot points and things that happen throughout a story that uh
Yeah.
you know
Sometimes you want it to be predictable. You
yeah,
want to know, okay, I'm sitting down, I know exactly what I'm getting, and then you get it and you just enjoy it. And a lot of it comes down to the banter
yes,
and then the chemistry between the leads.
yes,
But yeah, I think that rom-coms work because they're inherently hopeful and
yes,
we need more hope. You
100%.
want to believe that good things are going to happen and the right people are going to fall in love and everything's going to work out in the end. And sure, yeah, we need to have the movies with more conflict and stuff, but we also need hopeful rom-coms.
Yeah, my one of my favorite movies growing up was Sleepless in Seattle, because I was a big Tom
Hmm.
Hanks fan.
Yeah,
um he I
that
just
one's a sad one though.
That was sad. It was sad, but the ending, I don't know, something about it.
Hmm.
I think it was Nora Ephron that
Oh yeah,
directed that, but
yeah,
and it
and
had a
wrote
lot of
it.
cute. and wrote it, right. It had a lot of humor in it too. But I think you're right. I think it was the hopeful thing.
Yeah,
And
there is a lot of humor in that. The yeah, the whole thing. Have you seen Fatal Attraction?
oh yeah,
No. Yeah,
yeah,
that one's good.
yeah. Not the new one, not the new one yet, but the old, yeah, the old one
Uh-huh.
I did recently, and different,
hmm
not the
Yeah.
same.
Ho, ho, ho. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch-alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind-the-scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
So you're doing a lot of self-taping these days.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
just finished. I just ran in here. I have to still put it together after, but yeah, there's a lot. Yeah.
Do you prefer to do the self-tape, or do you like being in person better?
Okay, so my thing is yes and no.
Mhm.
Yes, because less driving, so get to spend more time with the kids. No, because then if you start to get into the hamster wheel, like
Yeah.
I gotta do it again. No, was that good? Let's do it again. You can really get a little bit too carried away. And then there's something nice about going in, doing it once, and that's what you got. And then they're like, thank you very much. And then you leave it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like
Plus,
on
yeah.
one hand, I would think it would be nice because you can craft the perfect audition, but then what is the perfect audition? I can see that.
Generally Christoph Waltz, that famous is
Mhm.
Austrian actor, I believe.
I think so. Yeah.
He said he was doing this play, and he'd have these nights where he'd come off and he'd be like, that was one of my worst shows. And then people came up to him with like accolades, and they're like, oh my gosh, that was amazing. And then the
Yeah.
ones that he's like, the ones where I felt really I did nail it, it was crickets. And I believe that to be true. I mean, there's a fine line between there. Like sometimes when you've done an audition well and you have a good chance, but I've booked ones that I wrote off as
Yeah.
complete nightmares, and I'm like, that was terrible. And they're like, oh, they loved it.
Yeah.
So, because if you think about it, okay, so what is acting? So you're being somebody.
Yeah.
You're being this person, but you're also objectively trying to look outside, looking in whilst doing it. You're not really doing it. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
obviously you need a level of awareness when you're on set. This is maybe getting too deep in the weeds on this, but
No, I love it.
that you're wearing the camera and the microphone, and you realize there's a crew. But if you're just being that person and doing your thing, you shouldn't necessarily be checking in on yourself as you're going, which is easier said than done. But
Yeah.
so yeah, I find that the in-person just allows that to, you're forced to just,
Mhm.
this is it. And casting director said, they're like, generally the first one's the best. And I would believe that, because then what happens if you get a few in, you start to go, oh, that was a nice little moment in that first, I'm going to do that again. And it's fabricated, and
Right.
people can tell, audiences can tell,
That makes sense. I can see
Yeah.
that.
So, yeah. So, yeah.
There's so many auditions that I know you do as working actors. Like, how do you stay motivated for when you have so many auditions to get the booking?
Yeah, it's there's been some tough hauls. I know there was a run there for myself and a few friends of mine. I think I want to say like 56 auditions and
gosh.
nothing. And I think they went almost 80. They showed a picture. They had about this many scripts stacked. Yeah, it's tough. It's like I've heard a few pieces of advice, which I'm sure you've heard, and it can apply at any point in your life, is like never get too high, never get too low. So when you get the booking, it's like, yes, you're excited, but you're not like, oh, I got this, kick up your feet. And if you don't for a while, you're not saying, oh, I'm terrible. Like if you're a good actor, you know you're a good actor. Like if you're working, people like you is what I'm trying to say.
Mhm.
Like, and yeah, it just comes down to a bit. I just play the numbers game a little bit, which
Mhm.
sounds a bit too black and white and sort of removed from it. But
Mhm.
yeah, someone else had a great piece of advice the other day. I was just watching something and they said, oh, it was George Clooney, Rev All People. He's like, people say, oh, I blew that audition. He's like, well, you didn't blow it. It wasn't yours. The part wasn't yours to begin with. Like you're playing with house money.
Mm.
And if you kind of have a little bit of that, you can let go of the preciousness of it. But honestly, it takes practice. I've been doing this for
Yeah.
almost 22 years, and you just have to.
It's just part of the job.
It's just part of the job. Yeah, it's just part
Yeah.
of the job, and it's good to have other hobbies.
Mhm.
I'm sure
Yeah.
you have things that you like to do. If you've done a number of these interviews, you've
Oh,
got
yeah.
something to get you,
I
think
love
about.
I love to swim. That's my open water swim particularly.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so now that we're starting the summer, I got to find time for that because I love it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You need those, and it kind of. So that's just like anything, I think. But
Mhm. Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. So you doing these Hallmark movies, would you say that you prefer the Christmas ones or the non-Christmas ones?
Okay, so only because of when we film them,
Yes.
the non-Christmas ones, because the Christmas ones, you are late July,
Yeah.
no aircon in whatever restaurant you're in, and you are wearing layer upon layer upon layer. So logistics
Yeah.
wise,
At
I
the
would say,
festivals and stuff like that.
yeah.
Roasting.
Yeah, roasting. Like actors roasting on a Hallmark set. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot, but those ones are the most fun when they come out during Christmas
Mhm.
time, and it's nice to be part of that world.
Well, it
Um,
must be amazing though to see like this whole Christmas world like appear overnight, like with
yes,
festivals and trees everywhere and all of that. Like it
it
must be
is.
kind of amazing.
It is cool. There is a place. It's Brian Adams' studio. It's in Vancouver in Gastown, right
Uh-huh.
across from the acting school that I
Yeah.
went to. And the inside parking structure is very open, and it's literally there's no ceiling, no roof. No, it's just
Yeah.
all exposed. It's super cool, the building itself, but they they morphed that whole space into for Sense and Sensibility and Snowmen. That movie, they morphed it into like a market and a big Christmas tree. And then
Yeah.
I came back a week later for some voice thing, and it was all gone. And yeah, I think the crew really don't get enough uh acknowledgement for like how much work they do, because
Yeah.
it's a lot.
Well, I'm just amazed too at how good they have gotten at making the fake snow, the snow look good
Yes.
because it used to be like really bad. Like you could it was like, oh, this is terrible. And I hate it when they have the digital snow. I think it
Mm,
looks really bad. But I would
yeah.
much prefer, I know it's a pain in the neck, but I would much prefer the real, real snow, or at least the blanket snow. I've
Yep.
become quite a connoisseur over the years of the snow. But
What? It's true. It can take you
I've
out of
seen
it,
so
right?
many of these, it really can.
If you flick off a piece of cardboard off your shoulder during the take, you're like, eh.
Yeah.
But yeah, I appreciate
Yeah.
that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Your first movie for Hallmark was a Christmas movie, right? Wish for Christmas?
Yes.
Yeah. So that was Lacey's movie, Lacey and Paul.
Yep.
So what did you think about it? You're like, oh, I'm going to be one of these rom-coms.
Yeah, that was interesting because I don't know what was going on. I kept auditioning for, and not necessarily in the Hallmark world, but all, just these nice guys like, hey, how's it hi, hey.
Hmm.
And which was fine, but I remember watching some interview, and they're like, oh, it's so fun to play the bad guy sometimes. And I was like, oh, I
Yeah.
wonder if I could I wonder if I could. And then a few weeks later, this audition came up playing Dirk. His name's Dirk. So
Yeah.
no offense to any of the Dirks out there, but this
You
guy
were
was
her
a real,
boss, right?
yeah, this guy was a real Dirk. And so when I got the audition, I was like, oh, and I really got into it. And then, yeah, I ended up getting it. And then you meet Lacey.
Yeah.
She's like the sweetest human ever. And after each take, I'm like, I'm so sorry. Look, I'm not, that's not me.
Because
She's like,
she
"All right."
gets the ability to speak her mind. That's
Yes.
the wish, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Dirk is the sort of overbearing boss and steals her idea. And then she stands up for herself.
Yeah.
But I literally felt bad after each take because she's so sweet. Plus, she was 8 months pregnant.
Yeah.
So just carrying around boxes of presents and lots of coats. And no, that was great.
Yeah.
And Paul was great as well, and always had his guitar, and super nice dude. Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't do the best job hiding the baby bump in that one.
You could see.
Oh yeah. But sometimes they do a better job than others hiding the baby bump in these movies.
Well, so I love a story about that. Someone came up to me randomly, like near the SkyTrain, basically like our version of the tube, as they say, or the subway. And he's like, Dirk. I was like, no, it's Jason. He's like,
really?
No,
Somebody
Dirk.
recognized you? That's so funny.
But the movie hadn't even come out yet. So I'm like,
Oh.
huh? He's like, I've been staring at your face for 8 hours a day. And I was like, okay, that's cool. Security. And turns out that he was working on the CGI for that movie. So they had to do a lot of CGI to like make sure, because she was 8 months pregnant, and there was a lot of, so I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, I actually didn't know that they did CGI on the.
Yeah.
I mean, she was really pregnant, so that maybe like on others, maybe they don't need to because
fair enough. Yeah. But
it's too bad they couldn't just wait a couple months. But again, I guess she has to go on maternity leave, so that's like 6 months.
Yeah, exactly. And who knows? Maybe they started early, they got postponed or whatever. But she was delightful. Like,
yeah.
I mean, 8 months pregnant itself is a lot, but working and filming and on your feet all day is another thing. So she did great.
So you've been the wrong guy in a bunch of these.
Right.
And so I mean, is it still fun to still be the bad guy? I think
it's still fun. I mean, the recent ones, I'm not necessarily the bad guy, but just they're like, oh, you make me realize that I deserve better. And I'm like, oh, well, you're welcome.
The other guy.
The other guy.
Yeah.
So, but it's fun. Like I got to work with Nikki DeLoach on this one called 5 More Minutes, which was based off that song.
Yes. You've worked with a lot of the leading ladies, our queens of Hallmark: Nikki DeLoach, Erin Krakow, Erin Cahill, Lacey.
Yeah, there's been a lot, and they all just wanted nothing to do. They're like, get out. I was like, all right,
leave me alone.
No, but it's been fun. It would be cool to play, the leading guy one of these days here, but it's fun being part of that world, and it's more of an ensemble.
Yes.
That makes it more fun. Like Sensibility and Snowman was probably one of my favorites. With Aaron Krakow and Kimberly Susted and Luke McFarlane.
That's a good cast.
It was great. And I think it didn't matter like who was playing which or who was wearing the call sheet. It was just it was a fun time.
I just wish they hadn't named it that, because it had absolutely nothing to do with Sense and Sensibility. I mean, nothing.
Well, there was some sense in the decisions that were made, right? So
they didn't even get like they had the more traditional buttoned up character. They named her Marianne, and they had the more free spirited character they named Eleanor, which it's the reverse in the book. So like, why? I don't know. They love doing that with Jane Austen though, and you're just like, leave my Jane Austen alone.
Leave Jane alone. That's fair.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. Based off the TV movie streaming on Up TV Network, Just Jake is the story of an emerging country star who returns home and reunites with his high school sweetheart in the second chance romance written by Jamie Engel. Order your copy on Amazon today using our affiliate link, where you can access a QR code to see photographs from the set, download the movie poster, and grab the delicious ginger heart cookie recipe, an Engel family tradition. Visit the author at www.jamieengel.com and enter the Engelverse. That's jamieengel.com. It was fun. I mean, Luke McFarlane, he's so great.
Yeah, he's the nicest guy, fellow Canadian, right? He's killing it right now. He's blowing up. He's doing so good, and I'm so happy for him. But yeah, I keep in touch with all these guys still. Like we watched that last movie at Kim's place, the Hearts in the Game.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah, and I was just texting with Aaron last week, and so that's honestly the best part of all of these is like you make friends and
the Hearts in the Game, that felt kind of different to me, like just in the sense that her character was pretty unlikable for a Hallmark movie. I mean, she was pretty tough and making decisions that were kind of unlikable. I mean, it's Erin Cahill, so of course she's so likable as an actress that it worked. But but I don't know. It was I just thought it was different, and their relationship was different, and I enjoyed it. I liked it.
Yeah. It was a bit of a different take. I really enjoyed it. We all watched it there, and and they all really enjoyed it. Those who hadn't been in the project itself, but there's another example, Marco, who lives not too far from me, and we stayed friends, and it's cool.
I like that they had this sort of theme of him having the like panic attacks and dealing with the anxiety and her kind of coming to realize that he had actually been brave by not by what happened with the whole game and everything, and it was good.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that was a good message. Was just like you never know what people are going through. And then the whole thing at prom was really fun. I didn't go to a prom, so like it's somewhat escapist for me. Right. Yeah. I mean, I think even for me, I did go, but I didn't go with. I'd asked someone, and then it all kind of, then they went with someone else, and I went with someone else, or there was like a falling out of some kind. So it was kind of, we were just there, and it was, so
drama, kind of like the movie.
Yeah, it was a prom drama, and this was fun, and Sarah Smith and I got to dance, and that's one thing that I'll say. It's so many Hallmark movies. They're like, they're like, okay, we're gonna be dancing now. Excuse me? And that first one, A Wish for Christmas, it's just gonna be you two, and then everyone's gonna be around watching you guys. Okay, so here we go. And I'm not a great swimmer, but I'm less good dance. I'm less talented as a dancer. So that is my nightmare, and it happens on every Hallmark. And so if you watch, just look for how uncomfortable I look, and that's not acting. That's just me, real life. Yeah.
Well, I feel that because I am also the worst dancer. Like,
right? Solo at home, no one's around. Yes. People around. No, not so much.
Yeah.
And I always tell myself we're gonna do classes. My wife and I, let's go do classes, and and now we got 2 kids, and it's like,
what are you gonna do?
We'll push it.
So you were on an episode of When Calls the Heart.
Yes.
And I can't remember what was your role in that.
It was Mr. Higgins. So he was, I think, the superintendent, I believe. So he was the one that made a decision that got Aaron Krako's character fired, essentially.
Oh yeah. So you were the bad guy who got Elizabeth fired.
I was the bad guy, clean shaven, British character.
I remember that. Because she was teaching the blind girl, right?
Yeah. I don't remember all the episodes leading up to it. But she basically came to plead her case, and then He's so
Yeah.
slimy. He was basically like, well, I understand. Would you like to go out with me? Like just not reading the
Yeah.
room at all. Yeah, no,
But
she
I
was,
do think, especially on that show, it'd be more fun to play a villain because they're all so like it's such a
yes, yes,
so-
absolutely. And she was so good, and she's so talented, and
Yeah.
she was like right, like the emotion was there, and I was
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. Um,
Is it fun to get in all the costume and
yeah, I would say
everything?
so. I would say so. Yeah, it
Mhm.
definitely helps.
Yeah.
Like this audition I had to throw down was this sort of cowboy-ish thing, and I had these boots that kind of were, and I was like, this is okay. And then I threw on the boots, and then you just kind of fall
Gets
into
you
it.
into character.
Yeah, it was, you get the accent comes out. It's just like anything, if you
Mhm.
dress up for Halloween, you get into that sort of
Yeah.
valence, right? And I find it's cool and fun, and it
Mhm.
helps.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So you've been in a bunch of the mystery shows.
Yeah.
Did you ever get to play the murderer?
No, only the faux murderer.
Oh, the red herring.
Only the red herring. Yeah. I lead them off the scent. No,
Okay.
that would be cool though. I would like that. That would be
I
fun.
think it would be fun to be the murderer in
Yeah.
one of these things. That would
Because
just
then you get to be, the
Yeah.
quote unquote nice guy for the whole thing. Like, oh
Yeah.
no, how did
surprise.
that happen?
Yeah.
Like, mustache. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, because you've done an Aurora Tea Garden, a Murder She Bakes, a bunch of different ones.
Yeah, Aurora Tea
Yeah.
Garden. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. My buddy Niall, who I went to acting class with actually
Oh, really?
years ago. Super nice guy, another
Yeah.
fellow Canadian. And yeah, the Just Desserts. That was the
And you were in Martha's Vineyard too.
yes, that was also cool. That was out in Victoria.
Mm-hmm.
We got to use we got to, I don't know if anyone's been up here, but there's, obviously you got to go across the water, and you could do a ferry, which would take a long time, or the plane. And we got to go on this helijet. I've never been on a helijet before. That thing is so cool. There's only so many people in there, obviously, and the views are just insane. Anyway, I felt like very spoiled on that. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So you're in one that I actually think was kind of underrated.
Yeah.
That I really enjoyed is the Every Day is Christmas.
Every Day is Christmas. Yes.
Yes. I mean, I don't know why they named it that. It makes no sense. But I thought it was actually a really creative take on Christmas Carol. We've seen Christmas Carol so many times.
Yes.
But to have instead of it coming out of greed, to have it come out of grief.
Yeah.
And her trauma that caused her to become this, Scrooge character or whatever. And then to have her mother and father be all the ghosts, I thought really worked, because I mean, that was the heart of the problem, is she had this grief, and I felt, I mean, Gloria Reuben is so great, and she was really good in the role. And just like every time she saw her mom, every time Tony saw her mom, even if she just left her, she was like devastated, which is how it would be. Like, you would never be like, oh, I'm used to seeing my mom as a ghost. Like every time it would be like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I thought that it was underrated.
Yeah. I would say I would agree with that, actually.
Yeah.
That was cool though, meeting her. She was very sweet. And another high school friend of mine was in that, Guy Christie.
Oh, really?
He was selling the ring or the jewelry,
Okay.
but yeah, that was a fun one. And another friend of mine, Sunny, she was one of the coworkers, Sunita, who, okay, another random, Sunita, myself, and Guy all worked at the same video store like 10, 15, maybe, no,
really?
almost 18 years ago. Yeah. And so we all ended up in this movie. I thought that was kind of cool.
You can never burn bridges in Vancouver. That's
for sure. You can't do it. Nope.
Yes.
You return your videos on time, you pay your late fees, and then later you'll become really good friends.
Yeah. Well, we interviewed the director of that one, David Weaver, and he's great. Love him.
Yeah. I think that's another thing is a lot of these directors I've been lucky. I mean, I have yet to meet and work with one that we didn't get along, and
Mhm.
yeah,
They do such an amazing job in such a short time period with these movies.
yeah. And
It's
they know that they know the tone, they know what you need,
Mhm.
they know, and they keep it all pretty loose on set, and it's all very, there's no egos and anything like
Yeah.
that. Really cool.
Yeah. So you were on Firefly Lane,
Yes.
13 episodes. And so that must have been exciting to have a recurring role, on this show, to
Yeah.
get cast in the show.
Yeah, that was the first. Yeah, definitely the biggest recurring. I've had a few smaller recurrings here and there,
Mhm.
but yeah, that was really cool. That was interesting. I almost wasn't able to make the audition. It was before, obviously, pre-pandemic and all that, and so we were driving everywhere for these auditions, and with traffic and everything else, it was just. I remember calling my wife. I'm like, I have to get to this other one, and I got to get home. I got to do this. She's like, you never know, and I managed to get there. I was a couple minutes late just because of traffic and stuff. But it's so funny the ones that where it just sort of happens by happenstance.
Mhm.
You end up getting, and then the other ones that you're like, I must be on this show. They can feel it. They're like, I don't know, this guy is a bit too. Yeah. So that was really exciting. And another friend of mine from high school, Brendan Taylor, he played Mutt.
Mhm. We've
Uh,
had Brendan on the podcast
oh yeah.
early on, I think in
Oh
2000.
nice.
I think he was on in like 2018.
Oh
Yeah.
wow. Okay, yeah. So yeah, another high school buddy, and I actually read for Mutt, which
Oh, really?
when I was
Yeah.
reading it, I was like, and I couldn't imagine anyone else playing it than Brendan.
Yeah. Was this shot on like Vancouver Island?
No, this is all here. It's funny that you say that. Initially, I believe that was the concept, that there would be either Kate or Tully would live on the island. So it's funny that you say that. But no, it was all
Mhm.
filmed here in Vancouver. There was a couple scenes that were on the island, where they try to track down Tully's dad.
Mhm.
Um, but no, all of it was shot here in Vancouver.
Mm. And what was your role on that show?
So I played Sean. So I was Kate Malarkey, played by Sarah Chalk. So I played Sarah Chalk's
Mhm.
brother
Oh, nice.
and
Okay.
Katherine Heigl's friend. And yeah, obviously the story revolves around the two women, Kate and Tully, but there was still some very interesting dynamic stories for Sean as well.
Mhm.
So I got to sink my teeth into it, which was really cool. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
Mhm.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, Hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies.
You've had small roles on feature films, bigger films, and uh, for like Night Museum or Wonder or a show like that. Like, what's that like stepping onto like a huge production, even in a small role?
That was crazy, actually. Night
Yeah.
Museum was, I say, we've got a breach in a terrible Irish accent.
Oh no.
Yeah. But it was 5 days
Uh-huh.
because we had to do a 3D, what do you call it?
Yeah.
Um, Basically like a 3D version of yourself. So you go into this giant room and it scans you, does a 3D scan of you. And then we had to do
Uh-huh.
all these different sort of pose with your hands and feet. And then so they register all that, put in the computer, da, 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 da. But yeah, 5 days for this one line. but it was
Did
all
they
green
give you an
screen.
idea of kind of this is what it's going to look like in
Yes,
those
yeah.
scenes?
But even still, you don't know. You don't know. You're just standing in front of a giant green screen. I mean, they told us a little bit about but we weren't able to see it yet.
But they don't give you like a mock-up of like,
No, we
here's
didn't have
the
anything.
concept
No,
art or something.
we didn't have anything. I mean, I'm sure they did for the the Robin Williamses of the
Sure.
world and the guys Owen Wilson's who played a larger role. But
Yeah.
I don't think they just time-wise. I don't think they just were like, okay,
Yeah.
this is what it is. This is this, and go. And
That's
so
interesting.
you're
Yeah.
like yelling, "We've got to breach!" And there's people around you, and it's like bizarre. And then someone's like, "Oh, there's," and Ben Stiller was on the other side of the warehouse. It was like this giant warehouse where we filmed the studio, basically the size of a warehouse. But never got to meet him, unfortunately. But that was really cool.
Yeah.
And the other one that was fun, which was called Shattered, was with
Oh.
Pierce Brosnan, Gerard Butler, and Maria Bello. And Pierce Brosnan was super chill. After each take, he'd kind of walk up to the extras and, "How's everyone doing today? You all right?" And he's just like very just, I loved it. And then meanwhile, Gerard Butler was upstairs and he's working on his American accent. He's like, "Okay, and he's like really getting into it. And I'm like, how's he going? He's like, this accent, I tell you what." And he was just like getting all focused. And then Maria Bella's outside and she's just kind of chill. So it was just interesting to see everyone in
Yeah.
the process and see how they worked. But yeah, it's fun, like we're all fans, I'm a fan, you're a fan. Like, even though we work in different aspects in the industry, it's still cool,
Yeah.
Well,
it's like there's no small parts, only small actors.
right? And you know what? I will say at first I was like, that's bogus. Like, you can say that if you've done big parts, but now when you watch movies and shows, you can tell, like, great movies have great actors literally in every role, even if it's one scene, and you can tell when something's a little bit off or the casting's a little bit off, and it takes you out of it. I don't know. Anyway, that's
yeah. I mean,
sense.
you can't, especially if it's a bad like background or that it really can take you out of things. But
I know there was a I don't know if you've seen that meme. Oh, this poor woman. They're eating Chinese food in a restaurant. They all, and the leads are walking in, and she's clearly there eating, but she's got poor woman. I felt she's got a chopstick in each hand, and she's like trying to use it like knife and fork, and it's so obvious.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the director, I'm sure, was running out of time, and they couldn't.
Have you seen that TikTok of the guy about actors eating and on
Actors
in
eating?
movies? Yeah,
No.
it's really funny where he's like,
I want to see that.
I mean, like putting it up to his face and putting it down and like
And never taking a bite,
really,
right?
Yeah. It's really funny.
Watch commercials too. They'll just like, not even touching it.
Yeah.
Or the fake clapping. They have these old Disney shows and they're literally like, you can see all the air.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I was just gonna say, if any of your if anyone ever wants advice and you're an actor and they give you the choice to eat or not eat, choose not to eat.
Yes.
Because you will eat that one item of food over and over and over.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll just have the cucumbers in the Firefly Lane. I'll just have cucumbers. I ate, I think, like 65 times cucumbers. You don't think
because you got to have it be the same bite
every time,
for every take, every coverage.
You don't know where they're gonna get in the shot, so yeah.
Yeah, it makes you think of it like Brad Pitt is known, for eating in lots of his movies and scenes.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, especially in the Ocean's movies, almost every single scene he's eating.
Interesting. I did see that. I did see that with what's his name, Robert Downey Jr.
Oh,
like in the Marvel ones, he's walking around
eating
with
a lot.
Apparently that was a thing, but I'll check out the Brad Pitt one.
Yeah,
I didn't know about that.
But especially the Ocean's movies, almost every scene he's eating, and you think, boy, how does he look like Brad Pitt?
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, no, smoking and eating. I thought this would be cool for this scene. Don't do it. No.
Yeah.
And I did a coffee commercial for this sort of like coffee creamer. And they're like, "Do you want water in there instead?" And I took a sip, a little bit of it, and I was like, "Oh, this is actually pretty good." I want to say like 100 takes. my
Yeah.
blood sugar levels were, my
Yeah.
body was in such shock. I
Yeah.
like vibrated home, and I was like, that was a terrible idea. So yeah, lesson learned.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
believe that.
Yeah.
But at least, I guess, at least you have like the good craft services on these
Yes.
movies.
Oh,
So that maybe makes the food scenes a little better.
no, I know, and that's also bad, and it's so tempting, because then, sometimes you're sitting there forever because they got to get a certain scene done, and it's maybe
Yeah.
it's a technical thing, and
Yeah.
they bring it to you. So even if you don't go to it, they're like, would you like? And you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'd like. I'm not happy about
You're
it, but I
like,
would
here's the
like.
hot dish.
Yeah,
Here you go.
yeah, hot, yeah. Oh my gosh. And it's so good.
Yeah.
It's yeah. Yeah, don't
Yeah,
get me
our
started.
friend Donna Benedicto, we've
Yeah.
talked to her multiple times about the craft services.
Oh
It's
man.
our favorite.
And like the mac and cheese they make,
Yeah.
like it's not just mac and cheese, it's like this creamy, delightful
Yeah.
treat from heaven. And you can't say no. You're just sitting there. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. All these Hallmark movies, they keep the Vancouver catering industry running.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
There's so many of them, and they do such a great job.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm hungry. Now I'm hungry.
Yeah.
Now I'm hungry.
All right. Well, we like to end our interviews with some fun get to know you questions.
Okay.
So, first question is, what's the best ice cream flavor?
Wow, best ice cream flavor. You know what? I'm gonna give a shout out. I'm gonna go off the radar and give a shout out to my dad, who liked the tiger ice cream, the orange and
Mhm.
black.
I've heard of that. It's a
Yeah.
Vancouver thing, though, right?
Maybe it is. It's just enough off the beaten track that it's
Mhm.
interesting, but it's
Yeah.
actually quite good. But I would say down the middle, I would say more like kind of the Rocky Road. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
You got
Yeah.
that crunch,
I
you
like
got the
Rocky Road.
chocolatey. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
good. Yeah. Good choice. Okay. What is your favorite color?
I think we gotta go blue. This is like a navy blue, and it's pretty much all I wear. So
Nice.
yeah.
Okay. What music are you into right now?
Oh man. A lot of mashups actually. Sort of these hip hop mashups of different songs. But my son, we were in the car and this Harry Styles song came on. I think it was called As It Was, I think it's called. And he's like, Daddy, what's that song? And I'm like, oh, it's called As It Was. He's like, yeah, As It Was. He asks for it all the time. So that
Oh,
one's
that's cute.
been on repeat. Yeah, super cute.
Yeah. All right. What is your go-to date night food?
Date night food. You know what? Appies. Appies are like charcuterie. There's this great restaurant here in Stanley Park, and they just bring a board, like this giant
Yum.
plate board of cheeses and salamis, and not salamis,
Yeah.
but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got kids, so I'm like, meat here, take. But no, like really nice meats and cheeses
Yeah.
and appetizers. That's kind of our go-to. There's a place in Stanley Park that we go to, the Tea House, and my wife and I got married there actually, and so we go there every so often and just devour. So
Yeah.
good.
I think that sounds delicious. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Mermaids, but in that movie,
I know of it. Yes.
Cher has this philosophy of anything that you can eat with a toothpick is the best food.
Right.
And I think that she's onto something.
Yeah, she's totally onto something because we'll get a meal.
It's
She'll get a meal, I'll get a
delicious.
meal, and then I'm like, oh, what did you get? I immediately discard what I got. And I'm like, what did you get? And so if you have a plethora of items, then you're good to go.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. What is your go-to date night activity if you're going out and doing something?
Go-to date night activity. You know what? I'm a big movie guy, and I think I knew, and once we had kids, it was like, not a lot of movie theater going as much as before. So
Yeah.
that is good. If I can get my wife out to that, it's it's a coup. It's a win.
Well, I guess you can make it like a family date. You could go see
Yes.
like The Little Mermaid, or
Yeah,
go
we could do
see
that. Yeah, we had
Mario.
friends that went, but so my friends went to The Little Mermaid, and she said it was 2 hours and 15 minutes, and I'm like,
It's too long. Well,
We
it's
all got
50 minutes longer. I think it's actually 2.5, but
Is it really?
it's still
Oh, wow.
it's almost an hour longer than the original, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, to have a toddler sit through that, I don't know if
Yeah.
you
Yeah, that's true. It's not like a great movie, but I still overall enjoyed it compared to a lot of these remakes, which were, really bad.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I liked her so much. She was so good,
Yeah.
Halle Bailey, and
Yeah.
I thought she had really good chemistry with the guy, the Eric actor.
Oh, yes.
So that it all worked for me in the end. But yeah, that's true. It is probably a little long.
I don't know. Just if my three,
Yeah.
I got a 3.5-year-old. There's no way he's sitting there longer than half an hour.
I actually work part-time at a movie theater, and
Oh, yeah?
it's so cute. The other day, this little girl, she's with her mom having watched Super Mario Brothers. She
Yeah,
comes
yeah.
out and she's like, "Mommy, I love Mario." It was so cute.
That's really cute.
Like, that's
and I love that
adorable.
because we grew up with that. That was like total nostalgia.
Yeah.
So to see like a new generation, that's cute.
Yeah.
So
All
yeah,
right,
I would say my answer would be movies, or honestly just going out to dinner and having
Yeah.
some good
Yeah.
food.
Well, which do you like better, dogs or cats?
I gotta go dogs because I just grew up with dogs. I love
Yeah.
dogs. I'm warming up to cats. We had to do a cat commercial, and
Okay.
the cat was literally on me, and I didn't find out till a few years later that the woman I did the commercial with, she was also like deathly allergic.
Oh no.
But I didn't know at the time. But yeah, I don't know. Dogs just like we just grew up with dogs. I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
cats, you have to earn their love.
You
Dogs
do.
just give it.
You do. And maybe that was just some bad experiences. When I was growing up, we'd have the sleepover at my buddy's house, and he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you can sleep down in the basement." I'm like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "Just watch out for the cats." I was like, "I'm sure they're fine." And they would just like look at you, and you're like alone, and they're like, and they're just constantly judging you. And I'm like, I'm in danger.
Yeah.
So yeah, I go dogs.
Yeah.
I'll go dogs. Yeah.
All right. Which do you like better, beaches or mountains?
I'm gonna say mountains, which sounds crazy, but my wife, she loves beaches. She's a summer baby and a water baby. I am not. I grew up playing hockey, so I'm like in the colds, on ice, and so mountains seem to be the closest thing to that. Even though I don't go up to them, I tried to do the grouse grind. There's this place up here called Grouse Grind, which is basically this uphill climb that is near.
Yeah, that sounds awful.
Near vertical. I didn't even make it. I went with my friend. We did the show Kung Fu and up here, the CW show, and she's got a pass. And I was like, you know what? I got this. I didn't even make it 10 minutes. I went back down. Like, so shameful. All these people, like, some were running. Like, what are you doing? They're running up, and I'm like shamefully going back down. So yeah, I say mountains. Mountains.
Well, I'm here. I mean, I would say beaches, but I also, I live in Utah. I love the mountains.
Right.
But it's easier to take them for granted because they're always there.
I know, it's true. They're like, "Oh, do you ski?" No, but you have the mountains.
Right.
Like, yeah, but they're always there.
The thing with skiing is it's so expensive, and I don't think I'd be. I mean, I have done it a couple times and I wasn't great at it. So it's like, do I want to spend a ton of money to be in a lot of pain?
Yes. No, you don't. No,
I don't know.
No, you don't. Yeah. I'm with you on that.
All right. What's your favorite holiday to celebrate?
Favorite holiday? I mean, it's got to be Christmas for sure. Yeah. Too much nostalgia. Yeah, I just love Christmas. And now you make it about the kids, and now it's just watching them, that whole thing.
Yeah, Christmas is way better with little kids.
Right?
Way better.
And the amount of things you can get them to do, like go to bed at a certain time and eat their food, and not like you're like, Santa's watching, which is creepy, but they're like, "Oh, I better go to bed." You're like, "Thank you, Santa," wherever you are, so it helps. He's like the invisible babysitter because I hate to admit it, but he's helped us out of a few jams in that respect. But yeah.
All right, last question. What is your favorite Hallmark or romantic movie?
Just in general?
Just in general.
You know what? I gotta go back to Sleepless in Seattle. Tom Hanks,
really good.
Meg Ryan, and it was just Yeah,
That
something
whole
about it.
scene where he's talking about I breathe in and I breathe out, and it was just like such an amazing scene.
Well, I'm gonna get up and
Yeah.
breathe in and out all day long, and
Yeah.
so I don't have to think about breathing in and out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
great. And then the music, I remember the time.
Oh,
It had all that
so
whole,
good.
and Rosie O'Donnell was in it. She was hilarious. Her and
Yeah,
Meg
she's
Ryan.
good. David Hyde Pierce.
David Hyde. Oh yeah, David Hyde
Yeah.
Pierce.
It
Yeah, I
rains
know.
9 months out of the year in Seattle.
That's right. That's right. She's like, yes, exactly. Yeah. So that's one of my guilty pleasures, I would say, for sure.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
have no guilt. It's great. I agree
Yeah,
with
yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, very good. You answered all the questions.
I win. I
Yes.
win.
Thank you
Awesome.
so much for talking with us. It was
Yeah,
a ton of
appreciate it.
fun.
Yeah, thank
And
you.
if people want to follow you on social media, stuff like that, are you?
Yeah, I'm
any that
I'm
you wanna
mostly on
share?
Instagram. Just search Jason McKinnon. I put the A in the middle, but it'll come up. It's my middle name, Jason A. McKinnon.
Okay, great.
But yeah, send me a message, say hi.
Yeah.
And yeah, I appreciate you having me on, Rachel. This is
Yeah,
great.
super fun.